Welcome back, racers, to another video on Gran Turismo Sport, and the last time we will ever drive the Mazda Atenza in the Manufacturers Championship. So I'll talk a little bit about what I've sort of felt towards Mazda as the manufacturer and the Group 3 and Group 4 cars that they've offered in this game, and how they handle, how they perform and such over the course of the video. But here we go, last round. It is at Catalonia. 9 laps, quite a bit of tyre wear, which is going to make us have a pit stop as well. But here we go, here's the qualifying lap. Now, the Atenza actually was supposed to be pretty darn powerful and strong around this track, but I could just not find any of the pace. I've always really struggled in the Mazda on these sweeping corners as we come into turn 1, down to second. And I didn't really practice for this, if I'm going to be honest. I probably did about 20 minutes practice in time trial mode, which, you know, there's no fuel, there's no tyre wear, so you can't really replicate what it's going to be like when you do qualifying and when you're in the real race. To me then, this race was pretty poor from the get-go. I didn't feel like I was confident, I didn't feel like I could push it in the corners, and it may be down to practice, probably quite a bit down to not having put in that practice. But also I think it might be the medium tyre. I'm really comfortable with the soft tyre, and I'm kind of comfortable with the hard tyre. You know, we do it so many times on race B these days that, you know, just by playing we actually get used to using that hard tyre. But the medium tyre for me, I wasn't dealing with it very well, and I just felt like I was, you know, pushing water uphill, as they say. And before this race, I was actually sitting 3rd in the manufacturer, so with a really good solid performance and some good points, we could actually go up to 2nd. So for this race, the win was probably around 1800 points, I'm guessing. I didn't have a look. So a top 5 or a top 3 would put us in a very good position to get the points I need to get that 2nd place in the manufacturer. So coming through the chicane then, very notorious for being extremely technical and tricky, especially as the last corner. You work so hard working over your lap for a really tricky last sector. A 146.103, good enough for 5th at the time, but it's going to put us down to 13th. One last look at the Mazda on the lineup then. I wish I could say I'm going to miss you, but 18 on the door and we're in 13th place, so we are doing better driver rating wise. And starting the race in the most fantastic position on the chicane, but we have got away better than the Toyota in front of us, and just starting off the race with the biggest power slide, which luckily for us we are able to handle, and we are in that wonderful suck zone of the Toyota in front. Look at that Toyota's top speed just pulling away, even though we are in that slipstream. The one thing about the Mazda is its brakes. It's fantastic on the brakes, which you will see a couple of times in this race put to good use. So the one thing about Catalonia is as well is the distances between the starting positions for each car on the rolling start. That you could see the distance between 12th and 11th, and we're already over a second ahead of the Swedish driver behind us. Obviously something that they need to address, and we see it in the World Tour events how close the cars are when they're doing those rolling starts. There is the possibility, of course, that they don't trust us as drivers putting us that close, but you know, they do the odd grid start, so why wouldn't they then allow us to start closer on the rolling starts? Yes, it's usually an absolute cluster on those grid starts, but the more people do it, the better they will become at it, which is why it's so alien to us when we have that grid start in a nations race or with the false check. It's surprising to everyone, and that's where problems occur. So, okay, mini rant over, and let's get back on with the racing. And we see a big pack of cars. That's probably all the way up the top 5, I would say. I always felt that I was faster through this section than the Toyota in front, so I've just got to stay with him. Maybe I just need that slipstream onto the final start finish straight. Coming through that right-hander then, we must have looked at the back of the Toyota in the wrong way and received our first SR down. Nope. I'm not going to moan about him. I'm not going to moan at him. That's the first one. We're fine. You're fine, James. But as first laps go, that's pretty solid. We didn't make any mistakes. We're still in the position that we are, so it's okay. It's a solid lap. We can deal with it. What I can't deal with, though, is drivers with the awareness of an old lady, which is blind. They're blind. A blind old lady. As we see here, coming down the back straight, we are going to put these good brakes to good use. So moving to the inside, and we are clearly up the inside of the Toyota, yet they have decided that they wanted to turn into us anyway, and this is going to cause an incident, and you know who is going to come off worse in this situation. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this below. And as we come around the corner, there's just going to be a little bit more contact, and that's going to just bounce him off. You know how bouncy the old GT physics are, and we're going to get a 2-second penalty and another SR down, of course. I don't think I deserved a 2-second penalty there, but you know what? I give up arguing with this game now. It is what it is. I would like to know your thoughts on the incident there. Let me know, obviously, in the comment section below once again. So, pulling over to the left then to serve the penalty off the racing line, we lose 1 position and a 2nd position to the Spaniard in the Toyota. The Ford tries to go around the outside, but obviously misjudges his braking a little bit, and we're going to just pick up 14th position. So that penalty then obviously costing us a little bit more than 2 seconds. I don't really know why they give us a number when obviously a penalty loses you more than that number. It doesn't really make sense. But anyway, that's for another discussion obviously. And coming through the chicane onto the final straight then, we are in the slipstream of the Toyota in front, but I really struggled around that last corner. I found myself constantly getting on the power too soon, which would mean that we understeer towards the outside of the corner, and as the tyres got worse I didn't factor that in, and I continued to shift, to slide out towards the outside of the corner, which obviously meant I had to lift off the accelerator and then lose time going onto the straight. So coming into here, the boys up front have got close together and they're going 2 by 2, which is going to slow them down, and obviously that means that we can catch up to the back of them. So a little bit of close racing here. Then we are up the inside of the Lexus, but then we are held up by the slower Toyota on the apex, so nowhere really for us to go. So we have to just settle in for 14th. We're on the outside. I don't think around the outside is going to work. Receiving a little booty tap in the booty from the Ford Mustang. As you can see, there's actually a couple of cars forming in a pack behind us, as the battling that we are doing between us three has actually slowed us down so much that the slower cars behind have caught up. But we are all over the back of the Lexus, and the Toyota there actually getting a ½ second penalty for exceeding track limits, which will help us when he has to serve that penalty on the next lap. So at the end of this lap, myself and the Spaniard are going to pit in. I'm not sure what the Lexus is going to do as he stays out. Diving into the pits then, just making contact with the wall. Let's just watch the pit crew work one more time. The Mazda boys putting in the effort one last time. Change the wheels. No need to put any fuel in. We have enough to see us out to the end of the race. And after receiving a little SR for obviously hitting the wall as we went into the pits, we have actually jumped the Spaniard in the pit. So maybe he had to put in a little bit of fuel, who knows, but we have jumped him in the pits, and that puts us into 15th position. Now CS Smith in front of us, he was actually the pole sitter. He was the driver who started at the front of the race, so I wonder what happened to him as we come through on the end of lap 5 through the chicane onto the final straight. So a couple of cars then diving into the pit lane and pitting on lap 5, which will give them the fresher set of tyres in the last couple of laps. But that is going to put us up to 12th position, so a gain of 3, and we are sitting behind this big pack of cars in front of us. Through T1 then, there is going to be some form of contact. One car is going to go around and get a penalty, and Smith there obviously being involved as well. He is having a very, very bad race, trying to go around the outside of the Dane here, but that's not going to happen. We're just going to have to sit in and settle into the slipstream. Into turn 4, he's going to go defensive for some reason, which is going to open us up that space on the inside just there, and we are going to go for it, keeping our foot glued to the floor, but the run out wasn't strong enough. Can we go for another cutback maneuver here? No, just too hesitant on the accelerator and the turn in, and that is going to keep us in 10th position. The Dane is safe for now. Jumping ahead then to the end of that lap, we are still in the slipstream of the Lexus in front of us. He's going to move out to the side, go on the inside of the Honda, and for some reason the Honda is just going really slow, so we're going to take the opportunity with both hands and just absolutely send it up the inside. Perfect corner. Once again, really utilising those really fantastic brakes in the Mazda. And coming around this sweeping right hand corner as we go over sector 1, that is actually going to be a purple sector, so why couldn't we do that every single lap? This is what I'm talking about with the consistency and the amount of practice that I put in. I just didn't have that consistency over the lap. Running wide and deep into this left-hander, inviting the Frenchman up the inside. A tiny bit of contact there, maybe brushing each other gently, warrants an SR down, which is obviously fantastic, and I love those. But anyway, in 9th position, behind the Dane, who is closing in on the Finnish driver in front. So by the time we got onto the final lap, the Dane had overtaken the struggling Finn. Turn number 1 then, the Honda tries to go up the inside, but the Mazda's superior brakes prevents it from doing so, and we keep the position against the Frenchman. And now we try to hunt down the Ford in front. Us ourselves have pretty bad tyres. Obviously we're on the 5th lap now, so our tyres are going to be at our worst. I'm not sure what strat the Ford in front of us was going for, but we can tell that car is really struggling in the corners, which is why we are closing up at such a quick rate. Molam Tutu though behind us, not giving up, still putting on that pressure, maybe trying to force an error in the late stages of this race as we come down to this section here, braking, changing down to 3rd, maybe down to 2nd to get the car turned in. Have to change up your gearing a little bit as those tyres start to wear to get that better traction in the corners. Through the fast right-hander early on the power and in the slipstream of the Mustang in front. Now this is all going to get a little bit awkward as we go into the braking zone here. I just missed my braking zone just a little bit, and there is contact up the inside of the Ford. Last lap, last race, I still back off and let the Ford go. It was a bad move, I forced him out and I had to give that position back. Even though this is our last race with the Mazda and we probably needed those points to get a better position. I thought the Honda was going to throw it up the inside there, but decides against it for some reason. The space was there, I was giving the space as well, so he probably should have gone for that move. But coming through the last corner, that is going to be it. Finishing in 9th position. And even though it was a pretty average race and I didn't really enjoy myself, to be honest, but we did increase our position in there. We went from 13th to 9th, so overall probably a pretty good race. Probably could have had 8th, but you know, we had to give that position back, even though it was the last race in the Mazda on the last round of the championship. What a nice guy, eh? That definitely deserves a like. But anyway, we actually finished in 4th position out of all of the Mazda drivers in EMEA, which I think is pretty damn good. I think I only did 8 rounds out of 20 as well. Just wasn't able to do most of them being in different countries or whatever it is. But a final word on Mazda. I feel the GR3 car was pretty competitive. I felt like I could challenge when we had the Group 3 races, but the Group 4 car was just so off the pace against the other cars. The tyre wear just put it at such a disadvantage as well. There was literally no point in trying to do some of the rounds against the other cars. So Mazda, it has been an absolute blast picking up an underdog and seeing how we could do. Shout out to the other Jev Racing members who went with Mazda as well. I think Smirnoff also cracked the top 20, so that's really, really cool. But that is going to do it for this one. I don't know what manufacturer I'm going to go with next. Obviously, we have a long, long wait until the next season starts. But thank you so much for watching, liking and subscribing. Thank you to the channel members for doing your thing. And we'll see you in the next one.